Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to all our listeners. My name is Tim Dimmick and host of today's show. Our guest today is Miss Erica Kennard. Born in Dallas, Texas, Erica received her undergraduate degree from Texas A&M University, Commerce, Texas, and a master's degree in bilingual education from Southern Methodist University. She's a librarian, educator, author, motivational speaker, and CEO founder of Language Ladders Incorporated. Erica has been writing poetry since her undergraduate days in college. She promotes positivity and believes everyone is a lifelong learner with knowledge to share. Welcome to the show, Erica.
Hey, everyone. I'm excited to be here. Hola.
Well, we are certainly excited to have you. After learning all that you do and reading off all those things that you do, I actually wonder how you have time even to set aside for an interview. But here we are, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you guys for giving me the time.
Yes. You betcha. Before we get into your writing, I really always like to ask our guests if they could give our listeners a little bit of background about themselves and what moved you to take the path that you took of an educator, writer, and motivational speaker.
Well, I like to share that my life was not really dictated to be a writer. It was like accidental. I really started out being an educator, and then some life situations kind of compelled me to become a writer. Actually, my writing was really therapeutic, just a journaling at first, until some of my friends and sorority sisters from college saw my writing, and they started submitting my poems to different type of Reader Digest contests and different things. And I never really thought about it to a higher level until I started winning.
There you go.
So that kind of motivated me.
Always does.
Yes, okay.
So you currently have 2 books out that you've written, and both are published, and we're going to get into that shortly. But can you share with us, what was your motivation to write books?
Well, I just been an educator and just been a person of voice for the people that don't have a voice, always been a person of leadership abilities and wanting to help people. When I started going through different things in my life, I just started to think, well, okay, it got to be better than this when we come out of different things. And I would like to be a solution so people won't have to suffer or go through some of the things that I've gone through if I would advise them ahead of time. So that's what pretty much made me want to go into become a writer even more in depth. Mm-hmm.
So of your first books, of the 2 books that you have written and published, the first one I believe is called Sacred Thoughts.
Yes, sir.
You call this book a collection of inspiring poems that produces a reaction, a book that's dedicated to reality-based thinkers. If you could, share with our listeners a little bit about that book and what you mean by producing a reaction.
Well, this particular book was really my therapeutic healing by myself. I am a survivor of domestic violence myself, and been a professional female. It was a little bit different for people to take it seriously, thinking of all the different things that I've accomplished. How can a person like this end up in a situation like that? So from that particular stance, I had to, kind of like relay the situation to the public and to whoever would listen, because what I found out after sharing my book and with the different experiences that I've gone through, as a warning to other people, not everyone is the same. But I realized that the writing wasn't just for me. It was to help other women, because people were coming out everywhere. I would share the poetry at book signings or church events or different events where I get called to come and speak. Other women would come to me afterwards or go to shelters and leave their families because they had been in abusive situations, and they were just totally embarrassed or afraid, or didn't have the finances and were scared the finances were going to be taken from them if they made a move. So in my book, I expose a lot of things that can transpire in a negative situation dealing with domestic violence, But also I show them how to conquer it emotionally, spiritually, and also even preparing yourself to out that situation.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. So the book is really written for, is it pretty much directed at people that are in domestic violent situations?
Well, it was predominantly was the emotional healing type of book for different scenarios: unhealthy relationships, domestic violence, love relationships, and then on the other side of it, it was dealing with education and then different social issues from a humorous point of view, with the light of touch of spirituality on top of the poems. So it was kind of like to look at a negative situation in another view without being sad or disturbed or, just totally overwhelmed. The way I come at it makes you smile about it. And then you're able to remove yourself from the situation and think about it from another way and to be proactive to get out.
That's nice. The last thing you want to do is make somebody feel worse in their situation, right? So
right.
taking that
right.
taking that spin on it sure is healthy.
Yes.
Are there any misconceptions, being in that situation yourself and having come through, a situation of domestic violence? Are there misconceptions that people have when they're, facing those issues?
Yes,
that you can address?
definitely. Well, for myself, even I was in that situation, I went through a lot of physical changes from size and, for self-esteem and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of notice that the people have been around you a while, but when you're normally in those situations, from what I found out, you're pretty much isolated for a long time, just you and your family in that small segment. So no one really noticed, that you're really going through because you've been away from your friends who really know you. You've been away from everyone because they kind of isolate you and have you feeling like you should just be, right there with your family.
Right.
But at that point, the misconception is when you do go out and seek help, if you don't have a black eye or if they don't see a broken arm, they assume that there's no violence or nothing has happened to you. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times things have done in different areas of your body that won't hurt, or it's a mental type of abuse, threatening your life or, driving recklessly with you in the car, different things like that. So it's a misconception. When people say domestic violence, you always think of the broken arm, the homeless lady, someone that's not, mentally capable of taking care of herself, and she just let herself get in that predicament.
Right.
And that's what you normally think of. But domestic violence is so many different variations, from physical abuse to emotional abuse, even to neglect and to abandonment and financial abuse too. So it's so many different layers. And in my book, I kind of expose all the different layers so you can see the tapestry of how it is kind of implemented on a victim. It could be male or female. And people always think that it's always females that are getting abused, but some males have been abused by women. Right. So I wanted to just get rid of that misconception that there is a specific look that you look like, that you have been a victim. There's no specific look. You can be a lawyer, you can be a judge, you can be a teacher, and you can be a custodian.
Sure.
Or you can be just a person, a housewife. So it goes from different levels. It doesn't matter your financial capacity. The same abuse affects you at the same level, whatever financial state you're in.
So would you say...
So my book is...
Go ahead.
Yes,
no,
sir.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think my book is like a medicine, because I've been hearing for some of my readers, when they read it, it makes them laugh again. A lot of them have never laughed since they've been in that situation, or even out of the situation and still dealing with the remnants of it. But when they get hold of my book, they laugh at my situation, the way I wrote it, and they're like, oh my God, this was, they can really think about it lightly. And so from that point on, they're able to heal quicker.
Okay. So is it really that your book is designed for somebody that's coming out of it or going through it at the time, would you say?
It's for all phases. It's in it. You could be in it. The book, the poems in there, like you're in it. Mm-hmm. Poems that you're going through it, and poems that you're coming out, or you can see yourself coming out. And then it's some that you are free. So it has different levels of it. in the book.
Well, like anything else, I always say, it's great to hear from people that have gone through what you're going through.
Yes.
You can't relate, or your friends probably can't relate, or you're worried about your friends being able to relate. Like you said, they're looking for something physical to appear in order to relate or to believe that you are going through something like that. So what a subject that obviously we could go on and on and on about for quite a long time, but I know you are very supportive of, domestic violence groups. As a matter of fact, I believe you told me that you even share a portion of all the proceeds from the sale of your book.
Yes.
Are actually donated to those groups.
I do. And I became a member of several groups myself coming out of it. Family Life Center, Rahab Ministry that they had here in Texas, Brighter Tomorrows, different ones. First, I was going for myself. Mm-hmm. And then as I was there, each program can always be better.
Sure.
And again, being a professional is a little bit different. And then when you speak to some of the counselors and people there, they're hard to believe that your husband or the perpetrator was a professional too. And when you start getting into higher professions, my situation was so touchy here, being in the Bible Belt, Texas state. My ex-husband was a preacher. Like a minister. So when I went out to start talking about it, crying out about it, do the cry, my initial cry out, people try to hush me up and just pray myself through it. I'm like, do you want me to die?
Right.
So, it's like the church turned on me, the whole church turned on me that normally when something happened to you or you have trauma or injury, you run to your source or your faith or your group. But that group turned against me because he was in the church, So my stuff was a little different. So when you read through my stuff, it'll take you to a whole nother perspective. One thing of dealing with abuse and one thing to be spiritually abused too. So I was done on both planes at the same time.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
wow,
so,
that's an amazing story.
But God is so good. Yeah, but God is good.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's why it's so good to have your own relationship.
Yeah.
So with Sacred Thoughts, that's why I came up with that name, because when I expose this is so sacred, it's going to touch on some toes, and people might not understand it or not want to understand it, but it's real, just like life is real.
Yeah, and I find that most people, when I don't know how to say it, but when they shun things out of their life, it's because they don't want to believe it. It's not so much that it can't exist. It's, it's too much to believe. And certainly, probably in your situation, that was the exact case of.
I guess it was, and when I see people, even today, some of the people I see, and they have watched over the years, have overcome, and all these things happen after those ordeals. I became a writer. I opened my own company. So all the positive things happen after that.
I had this exact discussion with another person today and said, you don't realize until you sit and talk with successful people the things that they went through. And so many times I believe it's because of those trials and tribulations that they went on to do the great things that they do.
I do believe that, because the endurance and the mental capacity is beyond man's thoughts. Mm-hmm. And it's truly a higher being, the Lord has to help you, because it could have cracked my mind as if in being depressed or having a mental issue or something like that. Actually, it did the opposite. It pushed me closer to the Lord, and I had to get deeper into it with a personal relationship, more so with Him than just having my pastor and first lady in the church and stuff like that, because they all turned against me, and to keep me from turning against the Word of God, which was just a thing of the devil trying to, discourage me. But God was so good that His Holy Spirit and the Word of God, I kept it moving, because I already had a personal relationship. So I just think that if one of those components was missing from a woman or a male while they're going through this, you could really lose them to different addictions and different things. But I just thank the Lord that His hand was still over me and my children doing this thing and touching my mind to be proactive, getting them counseling, getting myself counseling, doing what I need to do to keep the world rolling. because I'm the lead at this point, due to circumstances.
And that's why it's so important, that these support groups, and I think after you came through that and now, you're involved in these organizations, it's, the give back, because it's a fine line. I believe it's a very fine line for people that go through all types of things between going the wrong way and coming out on the other side stronger than ever. So
yes,
what a great story. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I also noticed, the second book you have published is called The Knotted Knowledge. Now, you say this is a collection of educational poems that are a testament to over 1,800 student successes. So I think we're shifting gears a little bit, but
let's gear it up.
Can you shed a little light on that book and what that's
this
about?
Book again is accidental too. Like I said, being a second language learner, and myself, I have so much compassion for second language learners, either Spanish, French, Dutch, whatever the language is, because it kind of like came to me. I didn't really go to it. It just came to me, and I just ran with it from that point on. I never thought about it. I never studied Spanish, to do it. I only took 2 years in high school, back when I was in high school. But since the car accident, it kind of like spurred something in my mind to just pick up languages. So I know sign language, I know Spanish, and I know French because I visit Europe. But I'm just saying this particular book right here has helped me to touch children from different facets of life. The struggling readers, it could be a bilingual student that's having difficulty learning from the language disconnect, or it could be a student that has not been taught phonetically correct, the sounds and stuff for reading and just never had a good base, or for the student just kind of apprehensive or shy, or have had a lot of negative experiences with teachers or people saying negative things about reading. My book would dispel all those negative things and make anyone feel confident enough to want to do more. So knotted knowledge is like the rope that I wrap around them to save them from failure academically. So that's why this book is just so potent, because I've utilized it for years, even before I published it. And so many kids right today, they're adults now, and they keep up with me. And they say, Miss Kennard, if it wasn't for you, your chance and all this stuff, I never would have thought I could learn how to read. I never would have thought this. And our schools, as many schools that I've gone in, our test scores have gone up like 40% or 50% due to the methods that I use for the whole school. So this is not just something I use in my classroom. People would observe me when I was just a regular teacher, but then they would also have me to go teach other teachers. I was a mentor teacher in the school system also.
Beautiful.
So I would teach the whole school. And so why not share with the whole world, since it's a problem if kids have lack of exposure to vocabulary before birth, right after they're born, they're already coming out behind if no one's reading to them. So my book is a catch-up book to make sure that every child get an opportunity to have an equal leverage in this academic arena.
That's awesome, because, in any field, I would say, in any subject, once they fall behind, it's so hard to catch up. And if you don't catch up,
hard.
You lose all your interest, actually, I believe, in that subject. So, and there's nothing more rewarding than having a student keep in touch with you, I'm sure, and tell you, all those great things after years have gone by. So that's a great testament to you and your efforts. So I also noticed, in addition to writing, in addition to teaching, you're also a motivational speaker. So tell us a little bit about who are the groups that you speak to and how do you help them?
Well, again, all these things are accidental. Mm-hmm. Everything veers from one talent to the next. After teaching and having my company, Language Ladders, people saw me doing the classes in schools, public libraries, and they'll call me and say, hey, could you come and speak to my group? They're Spanish. I need help. I was helping another motivational speaker translate. That's how I started. And then after that, they was like, wow, the crowd don't want to hear me. They want to hear you. So they would book me for the next thing. They start talking about education or talk about language learning or just talk about for STAR testing. Now, here in Texas, testing is really big for education. Teachers' salaries are connected to that. So at several points last year, I went to several DISD schools in the district that I work in, and I did the STAR motivation for them, and they had the pep rallies. They would hire me to come in to speak to the whole campus, and I do motivational speaking about my life and how different times I've had failures before in my life, but I never let them stop me. If I can become bilingual, if I can become a person of excellence, you can too, in spite of your story. So I just go out and just share with everyone that I'm not perfect, but I'm striving for excellence, and that everyone, that should be your main goal, to strive for excellence. So now I go to different church groups. They call me to speak to women's conferences. I've done those, children teen summits. And now some of my colleagues are pulling me for library, to come talk to them, about library, because I'm a different type of librarian. When you see me, you don't see a bun on my head and the little glasses. And sometimes I do put the glasses on due to the computer, But over time, my method of helping kids to learn about things, Dewey Decimal and different things in the library, becoming a resource literate people. Right. So and now I'm speaking on that. So resources, scholarships, and different things. So everything is stemmed from one talent to the other. It's not like I'm doing anything extra, so it's not a lot to me, because everything is tied into through education, communication, and experience and wisdom.
Well, you're certainly well-rounded, to say the least. So out of respect for your time and the time we've got allotted, that we need to bring this interview to a close. However, in doing so, can you please tell us where your books are available, and additionally, how you can be reached in the event any of our listeners would like to reach out to you for more information about either your writing and or your speaking?
Okay, yes. My books are located on Amazon.com. Also, my website is www.proactivepublishing.net. They can contact me through that particular website. It has a contact information where you can send information, find more information about my upcoming books or the books that I already have. And they also can email me at Erica Kennard 35@yahoo.com to just have feedback about different books that I've already read, that I've written, and then we can converse back and forth through email.
That's
also
fantastic. Erica, thank you so much for joining us today, giving us your insight into your work and your writing. And in closing, I'd like to thank both our guest, Erica Kennard, as well as our listeners for their time today and joining us here on Business Innovators Radio.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.